morning, everybody. Welcome to the Stokastic.com NBA strategy show presented by Bet365, where, well, it's legitimately the best promo in the world right now. And I know a ton of you guys are taking advantage of it. I'll tell you about that a little bit later in the show. It's stupid good. $1 in the $365. Unfortunately, it's only available to 4 different states, but if you're in them, you'll be happy on a wonderful Sunday morning. I'm Dave Loughran at Laffy_D on the Twitters, joined by Rayen Patnaik. You know him as Rinpack, at Rinpack on Twitter, filling in for Josh, who's in Las Vegas today. But whenever Ryan's on a show, you know it's going to be a good one. You know the analysis is going to be hard hitting, so buckle up and let's get to it. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to join you on your birthday. I want to say happy birthday to you,
Thanks,
Laffy.
brother. Thanks, man. The old 36.
Hope you're not too hungover to knock this one out, but here we are on a Sunday morning.
We'll be all right. We'll be all right. Happy to have you guys with us as always, man. And yeah, shout out to all you guys. Thank you. Yeah, fun day yesterday. I stopped drinking by 9 o'clock. So I think that's actually like 8:30. But man, it just hangs with you longer than it used to. You're still pretty young. Are you even 30 yet?
No, I'm not yet.
Yeah. It's different, but we're good. We're good. I took a shower this morning, got some liquid IV in me. We're feeling okay. Yeah, it's fear, money, entertainment. Laffy, how's the allergies? That's the one thing that's been killing me. Like, I don't know if it was just a cold or whatever it was, but feeling a lot better today. Still a little stuffed up, but we're fine. We're good to go. We got 7 games to talk about for this main slate. And I'm sure you've seen this, Rinpack, but the first 2 games, 16-point spread, 14-point spread. And how about OKC being 9-point road favorites against the Portland team, for which it feels like every year about around this point, they're just sitting every starter.
Yeah, and just Portland just shut the whole operation this season. And
yep.
Pretty much
last year too, pretty much.
Yeah. I think Dame reached the minimum number of games to get the scoring title eligibility, and they just shut down the operation there. A disappointing Portland season for sure. They started off the season all right, and then they just continued to taper off. Dame couldn't carry that team any further. Yeah, it's a 7-game Sunday slate. We're nearing a lot of like positional seeding changes coming up. Not as so much as it was like yesterday, but certainly some battles over there. Teams are looking at if they're winning or not, just to see if they can find a way to get the proper seeding they want, especially in the West. It's such a logjam that some teams are just trying to avoid not to fall in that play-in game.
You ready to dive into this?
Let's do it.
We're happy to have you guys with us. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Yeah. Subscribe to the channel. Show some love. Atone for your sins on a Sunday morning. I say it all the time. The wife and my daughter are at church right now. And for those who aren't, that's okay, because as Josh astutely pointed out, this is the Church of Stokastic. Now, there's nothing sacrilegious about that. We're just having fun here. Okay. That's all. Like I said, my wife's sitting in the pew right now, but I got to work. You got to work, Rinpack. Hey, listen, not everybody gets off on Sunday morning,
Yeah. You just got to put in the work. I mean, you got to take care of some things. That's why you're here.
And if I couldn't already make this worse, let's hope the basketball gods look down upon us and win us some money today.
All right. Let's sure hope so. I wish it was yesterday, because yesterday was a nightmare as well.
Yes, for you?
Yeah, Kawhi Leonard got a headache from playing with Russell Westbrook. He took off the second half. And what happened? That was an unfortunate. That was the real unfortunate one. I was heavy on Kawhi, but Joel Embiid, I liked him without Harden. He didn't really do much in that ball on the matter at that price tag. So,
yeah, well, the good thing about DFS, about betting, particularly basketball, is you can just kind of have amnesia, put it in the rear view, forget about it, move on to the next day. Guys, subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below. If you're listening, watching after the fact, we try and read and respond to all of them. And if you're listening in podcast form, we see you out there. Leave a rating, review. That stuff helps us immensely. Subscribe to the pod, tell your friends, all that good stuff, and we'll get going here. Yeah, and by the way, I had the under on Westbrook points yesterday, which was nice, 17. I used Odd Shopper. I went over to Odd Shopper in the morning. I threw this in our chalkboard app too, which is free. So if you're not over there yet, check it out. Entirely free. And the picks are free. The app is free. We've been having a good time. We've been in business for a little over a week over there. Got like 650 people. So I appreciate you guys joining. But Rimpack, just the power of Odd Shopper. I go over there in the morning, pull it up. He's at 15.5 everywhere. But on DraftKings, they had 17.5. Like, sure, he still would have gone under 15.5. You're getting 2 points, and there's no real juice on the under compared to these other books. It's just such a no-brainer to go in there, refresh it, and look at all of the best bets where you're finding massive discrepancies in the market. And when they work, they work.
Yeah, I mean, I consider it's like a betting cheat code. It's just like you're just solving so many of the legwork for you, and you're just taking advantage of the market, and you're just trying to beat the market night in and night out. And I can't guarantee it, but almost as close as over the long haul, it's going to work out in your favor.
It's a profitable strategy, yeah. Because you think about it, like these books, Ben always puts it this way. These books pay people millions of dollars, for their own projections, for them to set these lines and move these lines. So if one book is way off from 7, 8 other books, clearly you're going, all right, well, I'll use the market to beat the market in a spot like that. That's just the way it is. And I think it's the most difficult thing. We're going to get into these games right now, but this is important for anyone listening, right? Especially for those of you that are in states where betting's about to open up soon enough. Most states, it's going to be legal. I think that the thing people have a tough time understanding is you have to separate biases and projections, your own projections and all of that stuff from just saying, okay, this is way off from every other book. So clearly there's something going on here. And they will, you know how you know that this works, Rimpack? You're saying like in the long haul, because books will start to limit people for getting the good closing line value on these bets.
Yeah, and that's the best way to being profitable in betting. And I think I think Odd Shopper Premium is like one of the best tools out there for you to just elevate, learn about betting night in and night out. I've had some great success with it, and I actually got limited in a book in Michigan. Yeah. And it's going to happen if you keep pounding in the right closing value bets. And for wherever sports betting is available, I highly recommend to get into it. I know it's like some people just prefer just DFS, but I think there's so many things that go hand in hand with DFS and sports betting that I highly recommend using Odd Shopper Premium to start sports betting, learn about it, and I think you'll really enjoy that experience.
For sure. First week's free. This isn't an Odd Shopper show, but if you're in our chalkboard and you're always wondering what this is and stuff, yeah, first week's free. Link's probably in the description. I don't know. You can check it out or just go to oddshopper.com. All right, let's get into some basketball. Spurs, 16-point dogs against the Celtics today. You're always going to have some injury news. You're always going to have some question marks with this Spurs team, particularly late in the year. A lot of the guys are off the injury report, but you're still waiting on news from Keldon Johnson, Malachi Branham, Romeo Langford, for what that's worth, questionable. Jeremy Sohan is out. And on the other side, Tatum's questionable. So that's significant. Maybe they they rest him in a game where they're 16-point favorites at home and shouldn't necessarily need him. But if we kick it off with the Spurs here, I think we're still in a position where if Keldon Johnson plays, and Branham is in as well, and you're just looking at a team that's largely healthy outside of Jeremy Sohan, I'm not really sure how much you want to get to as 16-point dogs against a good defensive team in Boston. Is there anything you're seeing here if these questionable guys end up being ruled in that stands out to you?
If they get ruled in, this is a really, really gross team to go to. Tough spot. Going to Boston, like you said, 16-point spread. It could really break one way and not in our favor. In the Spurs side of things, it's really tough to go to any one of these players in confidence. Like looking at both the FanDuel and DraftKings price tag, since they've been sitting guys one game and one off, I feel like the sites have kind of adjusted their price tags where they're really not in play if the team is healthy. It's a different situation if Keldon Johnson's out. I think I'll be my most rostered player on a Spurs team would be Devin Vassell. I think he comes in at 7,200, 6,500 over there. On DraftKings, I think 6,500 DraftKings, you can certainly take some chances on Vassell, but it's a really tough Boston spot where I think there are just better spots on the slate to go to.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of better spots. If Keldon Johnson's out, are you willing to? And the reason I say this is maybe it's not as important as it would be on other sites. So many of the prices are are weird for the Spurs because they've had so many injuries that you haven't seen any. There's like no equilibrium here, right? So you have so many guys out, and then the cheap guys get priced up, and then they kind of come back down, and then other guys are ruled out, and then those prices come up. So I don't know if I don't think you'd be finding any smash value, particularly against Boston. They'd probably be 18th point dogs. Actually, I don't even know if it would move if Keldon Johnson's out, but the point is they're still, almost two touchdown and a field goal dogs on the road today. I still don't know if it would make a huge difference.
Yeah, it really wouldn't. I mean, both those guys being out, you'll see obviously some extra minutes and usage go to, like I said, Vassell. Maybe Zach Collins picks up some extra usage and maybe more minutes for a guy like Keita Bates-Diop and Doug McDermott. But they also have another guy in, I think, Julian Champagny. So I don't even know if it's like even worth like bothering with the Spurs team. I think you're going to need more guys out besides these questionable guys to really consider this team in significant fashion today.
Now, if Tatum's ruled out on the other side, we could probably get into a bit of a conversation here. Now, right now, I'm trying to see, do we have him? We do have him projected in. Okay. We have Tatum projected in, pulling up the boom bust tool as well. Get this pulled up. We have everything's updated, by the way. If you're already a Stokastic member, everything's updated for the day, and they update, throughout the day as well, but everything's good. We got our first iteration of ownership and projections and boom bust tool and all that good stuff. Yeah. Okay. This is kind of what I expected. Jaylen Brown, 9,100, 17% ownership. That would definitely come up if Jason Tatum sits. 16% optimal. So pretty much looking like his ownership is where it should be. And then everybody else here, I know you use the boom bust tool as well. Essentially everyone is within like 1% optimal of their ownership. So it seems like everyone's getting owned as they should be right now, early in the day, assuming that Tatum is in.
Yeah. And if Tatum's in, you can certainly take some chances. It's a great Spurs spot. And like Tatum, is going to grade out a solid play. He could get the job done in 3/4 of play against the Spurs team. 10-9 on FanDuel, 10-6 on DraftKings. Yeah, it's on the higher side for Tatum, but it's a Spurs matchup. I'm not too concerned. He can certainly get it done. Things get really interesting if he's out. It elevates the rest of this team quite a bit. Obviously, Jaylen Brown looks outstanding at 9,100 on DraftKings, and 8,700 on FanDuel looks even better. But I'm willing to even take chances on Marcus Smart. I know he's been awful for a good part of the month, but there's going to be usage to be floated around. Derek White is expensive over there on FanDuel, but 6,400 on DraftKings. If Tatum is out, he looks like a solid option to go to. It's going to come down. This is really important news with Tatum being in or out just because of the usage he soaks up. I think that'll be distributed pretty well across the team, where the rest of this Boston team is going to look even better on this slate against San Antonio.
If Tatum sits, what do you do, just to dig a little bit further here? What do you do on guys like, because you're saying you think you see a relatively like even distribution of usage spread around. And then of course you're taking a lot of minutes out of this rotation as well. What do you do with guys like Grant Williams, who generally sees some benefit from Tatum being out? What do you do with like a Derek White, who would probably see a significant uptick in opportunities? What about those guys who are, $6K or cheaper? And you could throw like, I'm sorry, you could throw Brogdon into the mix as well.
Yeah, obviously, I think Derek White and Brogdon have a little bit of a higher ceiling than Grant Williams. Grant Williams is kind of like falling out of the rotation, in and out, it feels like, over the last month. I'll take some chances with him. I think it's maybe like a with the field type of play. I don't want to get too aggressively above the field on a guy like Grant Williams. Don't get me wrong, where you get the 3-point bonus on DraftKings, he can certainly find a way to pay off a $4,100 price tag. He'll certainly play more minutes than we have him projected for now without Tatum were to sit. But Grant Williams is never the type of guy I'm that intrigued to go to. And I also think immediately, I feel like the field flocks to him thinking he's going to play so many minutes. But I feel like there's a lot more pathway of being disappointed with Grant Williams. And I'm just going to take my surefire usage with guys like Jaylen Brown, Tatum, Brogdon, and even Smart instead of Grant Williams.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think
he's just not that type of guy, in my opinion.
He's not. And you actually, you put it perfectly. There are going to be games where there's going to be games where Grant Williams pops off and hits like 5 threes on 7 attempts, right? It happens, but it's also not really standard operation for somebody like him. Whereas with somebody like Jaylen Brown, 32% usage in the games that he's played without Jason Tatum this year. So that's significant. Like, you're looking at what I was pulling this up now. Ad more funds is slow sometimes. 647 minutes without Tatum this year. Brown actually has a 35% usage rate. So yeah, 1.37 DraftKings points per minute. Would you say he's a priority if Tatum sits?
Oh yeah, I think he's obviously. I think if Tatum sits, he's a lock and load in cash games for sure. I'll find a way to make sure he's one of my highest owned players on the slate. I mean, Brown can find a way to shoot up 30 shots in this game.
Yeah.
If some reason, if this game stays close, it wouldn't shock me if 50 plus fantasy points are on the table for him.
It's also possible that they blow him out and he has 50 plus fantasy points in 3 quarters because he did so much of the work.
Yeah, it's going to be relied on him. And Jaylen Brown, certainly. I think he's in play even if Tatum plays. I think it's a great spot, and he can find a way to just get the job done at this.
Let's talk about Houston. 14-point dogs against Cleveland today. We had found some good spots to target Houston in tournaments recently, but today, potentially looking a little bit different. Tari Eason, we have at 11% right now, 5,400. Aside from that, though, you're pretty much just looking at random tournament pieces, Şengün, maybe a little bit of Jalen Green at 7,100. But I mean, this is a tough matchup against a Cleveland team that plays at the slowest pace in the league, has the #1 defensive rating, and Houston's they're a 2-touchdown road dog today. I mean, it is a pretty unappealing spot for most of the Rockets.
Yeah, it is a very unappealing spot. I mean, certainly guys like Green and Porter Jr. have tournament upside, but they're going to have to be high efficient shooting. Got to get extra peripherals in a, like you said, tough Cleveland spot. Loughran Şengün's minutes seem to be like they've gone up a little bit. So I'm willing to take some chances at 6,700. I know it's a matchup against Mobley and Jared Allen on the other side of things, but this team's not getting much ownership across the board, so it won't take much to get above the field. I think Jabari Smith Jr. is now appropriately priced at 6,400. If I were to play a Rocket, I think my favorite would be to go to Jalen Green at that $7,100 price tag, just because of the ability for him to just find a way to shoot up the ball 20 times a game. And at 7,100, I'll take that. It's really a gross team to go to. I really don't have much interest outside of maybe Jalen Green and Şengün. And I don't think it's like worth getting that much above the field on those type of guys on this type of slate.
You know, if you're looking at Darius Garland on the other side of this game, I know on a per minute basis he's not a stud, but 1.13 DraftKings points per minute. If this game happens to stay close, and credit Houston at times for keeping games competitive, you know, they're still playing their starters a lot of minutes. Like Silas is not taking his foot off the gas when it comes to these starters. Houston, look, on the road, brutal spot, but if it does stay close, you're getting like 37 to 39 minutes from Garland. He has been good enough. He's not Donovan Mitchell, but he's also not priced like Donovan Mitchell. Are you in agreement? He's mid 7K price point, 34% ownership right now. We do have him with a 29% optimal score. Is this someone you're trying to get around the field on or over the field on at 34% on a 7-game slate?
That's quite a bit of ownership, and I think that's a solid. I think that's a solid amount to take some chances on Garland. I'm even willing to get above the field on a guy like Garland. And if you don't want a Garland, I highly suggest to go to Donovan Mitchell at 8,500. It's a matchup against Houston. This team should absolutely eat, and I think it's a great matchup for them in terms of not only at their price tags but also DFS. Garland's like usually around 8K player, and Donovan Mitchell's around a 9K player usually. So I think a slight discount on this team going to a matchup against Houston. So sign me up. I prefer the backcourt instead of the front court here. I think Evan Mobley's priced appropriately at 7,500. I really like going to Jared Allen at 6,600. I think he's a solid option at that mid-tier price tag. So those 4 guys on Cleveland, I'm willing to get above the field on, and some of the, like, especially guys like Mitchell and Allen, significantly above the field on with those 2 guys. A little bit of a different story on FanDuel, but I think Mitchell's still in play at 9,500 and Garland's still in play at 8,100. The front court, a little bit too expensive for my liking, but it's a matchup against Houston. They should absolutely eat.
Yeah, And again, if this game stays close and you actually get starters minutes from these guys, Cleveland could be one of those teams that you absolutely need in tournaments today.
Oh, for
How
sure.
would you prioritize these guys then if you're going like 1 through 4
1 through 4, I'll
for
go
tournaments?
tournaments. I'll go Mitchell, Allen, Garland, Mobley.
Okay. Next up, Brooklyn and Orlando. Brooklyn, okay, so this game, much closer spread here. Brooklyn 2-point dogs, 225.5 total. Simmons is out. Seth Curry's out. Simmons, there's no chance he's playing again this season or ever, maybe. Who knows at this rate? But I don't think he will. I wouldn't be surprised if he just doesn't play next year. Would you be shocked?
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked at this point. It's, I mean, unfortunate. And I mean, at this point, I just feel like he's mentally just checked out of just being a professional basketball player.
Yeah.
We'll see. But it's unfortunate. He was super talented. Maybe he finds a way to get his head right and back in the game. But clearly, just basketball is just not a priority. If he's actually injured, I hope he gets healthy and then can play. But yeah, it's just unfortunate. Jock Vaughn's comments yesterday, he's like, I just don't think he's going to join the team. Don't ask me about it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. What else are you supposed to say? Let's talk about Brooklyn, though, up top. Spencer Dinwiddie. These guys playing their second of a back-to-back today on the road. They have Miami yesterday, Orlando today. Dinwiddie's been a monster playmaker recently. And he should be. When he first came, even with Ben Simmons playing some minutes, it made no sense that Dinwiddie was finishing with like 4 or 5 assists per game. The opportunities have been there. He's among the league leaders in potential assists per game right now, particularly since the start of March. You have that big double-double upside on somebody like him. It's a better matchup than it was yesterday, but his price has come up. You know, he is significantly more expensive than someone like Garland, who's also in a good matchup. There are some good mid-range guards to get into today. How interested are you in a right now single-digit owned Spencer Dinwiddie at 8,300?
I like taking some chances with Dinwiddie for sure against Orlando. Like you said, he's been a monster playmaker of late. I feel like his floor is like mid 30s, and like an upside it could be mid 40s. As he's gotten in a groove of late. I feel like also some of it could be defenses are focusing on Mikal Bridges, and he's also finding a way to create a bit more and having the ball a bit more in his hands. So Dinwiddie, someone certainly you can go to at that price tag. I like him quite a bit, and getting around the field, guys like Claxton at 6,800, maybe a little bit above the field on Claxton. Makes a lot of sense on DraftKings. Mikal Bridges, 7,400. We know he has the upside with the usage he can certainly rack up. And Cam Johnson's going to play a lot of minutes. Really hoping he gets those 3-point shots to go in on DK to pay off a $6,200 price tag. I like going to this Brooklyn team. It's a good spot against Orlando. And I know it's a back end of a back-to-back, but this team really doesn't load manage as much. And I like taking some chances on all 4 of those guys. Dorian Finney-Smith, not so much on this type of slate. If you fall on him as your last guy in, sure, but no way is he a priority on this slate.
No, you and I talked about him last week where it was basically just there's zero value on this slate, maybe $4,800 or $4,700 DFS. He's cheaper than he is now, but this guy's just been a zero across the board. It's tough to get to him. At least we know that with Dinwiddie and Bridges and Claxton and Johnson, that there is a ceiling game out there for these guys. Like there is upside for all of them in a pretty decent spot. So I'm with you. I think it's kind of an interesting team in tournaments, just given how low owned all these guys are.
Yeah, definitely. Like I prefer going to this Nets team than the Rockets team. I know different pricing, but if you look at it like position to position, they're not that much differently priced than this Rockets team we talked on earlier. So. And even the Spurs team, I think this Brooklyn Nets team, well worth it to take some chances and getting above the field on certainly some of those 4 guys we mentioned for sure.
All right. So Orlando's actually an interesting spot today because Franz Wagner is a legitimate questionable. Didn't practice yesterday. Jalen Suggs did practice. So if I had to guess, and it's clearly a guess, maybe Franz Wagner woke up feeling great today. It's possible. But I would assume that he's closer to not play. If you had to, designate something here, that he's probably closer to not playing. Jalen Suggs closer to playing. But if Wagner sits, let's actually start with this. Then we can get into Banchero and Wendell Carter. Those guys pulling a little bit of love today. But if Wagner sits, How do we want to approach that spot for Orlando and what the starting lineup looks like?
Yeah, what the starting lineup looks like will be really interesting to see what happens. So obviously we can expect Carter Jr., Moncaro, Fultz to start. And then if Suggs were to play, I think Suggs can start, and then they just slot in. Uh, Maybe Gary Harris plays at the 3, would be my guess. Non-zero chance we might see a guy like Caleb Houston start. Caleb Houston's a rookie. He's just a sharp shooter. And I feel like if the field flocks him, he's an easy type of kind of pivot type of guy. He's not the greatest point per minute type of player. I know you haven't touched on many guys sub 4K, but he played quite a few minutes after Wagner got hurt, I felt like, last game. So that could be an option. It's going to come down to if Suggs plays, then we'll have some more clarity. I feel really good about those 3 guys starting. The other 2, I expect Gary Harris to crack the starting lineup. But yeah, it's going to be something that we have to play by ear. I don't have a lean one way or the other right now.
It's tough. Well, we'll have live before lock too. So all of that's going to be coming up later in the day. Right now, assuming Wagner's in though, nobody's super popular from this team. You have Paolo Banchero getting 15% against Brooklyn. And again, it's not a bad spot against Brooklyn. Also a pretty bad rebounding team with Brooklyn. There are some outs here for some of these guys, but when you're looking at Orlando at the top, do you see priorities or just guys that we want to get in tournaments, nobody that we're trying to get massively over the field on?
Yeah, just sprinkle them in. I mean, keeping an eye on the Wagner situation will be really important. I think it's going to be worth taking some extra chances on a guy like Banchero and Fultz if Wagner were to be out. Even maybe Suggs and Anthony if Wagner's going to be out. Just feel like similar with the Tatum situation. I think the usage will split up a little bit among those guys. So keep an eye on that Wagner situation. But the way things stand right now, no one that appealing. If I was playing one lineup, you told me I had to play a Magic player, I think I take my chances on Banchero just because maybe he has an upside in this spot. But I say that really with a lot of hesitance.
Okay. Yeah, it's tough. I think Suggs probably plays here. This is one, but again, this is one you don't even have to get that deep into. There's 4. No, actually, I'm sorry. 5 of the 7 games are at 6 p.m. Eastern today.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna have all of this news. You have one 7 p.m. game that's OKC and Portland, and then one island game at 8:30, which is Minnesota and Golden State, which could get a little tricky because Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns are both questionable. But aside from that, we're gonna have news on 5 of 7 games before lock. It's at least gonna make life a little bit easier than it's been the past few. I mean, this late in the season, Rimpack, when you can get this many games like at early lock, it makes life easy because late March, early April baseball is absolute madness.
Yeah, I know, definitely. It's just it gets, like you said, it's absolutely, for lack of a better term, it's a shit show at times. Yep. And it's a front-loaded schedule. We'll take this, and then we'll worry about the questionable late games later. But 5 out of 7 games starting is a huge luxury for you to navigate around the lineups and what you actually want to play. So we'll know the news and who's going to start and who's going to be out, which will be really important for us. Like yesterday, it was the complete opposite. Every game was staggered by an hour, and they were all the slate started at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then games at 9, 10, and 10:30 Eastern. If someone was questionable or going to be potentially out, it was a really tough slate to navigate around late swap with that news.
Yeah, so this should be a little bit easier. You know what also is easy, Rimpack? Getting $350 for one single dollar. If I came up to you and I was like, hey, listen, man, bet 365. First, I would say, are you in Colorado? Are you in Virginia? Are you in New Jersey? Or are you in Ohio? You would unfortunately say, no, I'm not. But I hope that bet 365 comes to me soon. PA, that's me, Pennsylvania. It is coming. And I'm very excited about that because I know they're probably going to have even a better promo when that opens up in a new state. But if you're in Colorado, Virginia, Ohio, or New Jersey, you're betting $1 on bet 365. It doesn't even matter if you don't bet. You're betting $1 on 365, and you should, by the way, you should join the chalkboard If you haven't done so, get a little help. It's free. You don't have to pay for that. $1 after that game settles, win or lose, doesn't matter if it wins or loses. You're getting $365 in bonus bets. Think about that for a second. Nowhere else do you get an investment where it's like, yes, I'm playing $1 and getting 365 in a minute. The link is in the description. Use that in order to get this. Link's in the description. Mike can throw it in the chat. Maybe he already did. $1, $365. You deposit 10. You have to deposit 10, but only bet 10% of that. $1 of the 10. And when you do so, on whatever you want, I don't care what it is. Maybe it's a sport I've never even heard of. You don't need to win the bet. After it settles, you have $365 that you didn't have before. So here, Rinpat, here's how I approach something like this, right? If you're a rational person, you go, all right, so what you're telling me is it takes me maybe a minute to sign up and a minute to find the bet, so I'm making $365 in 2 minutes. And then you're telling me if I were to lose all of these bets, right? I get $365. My dumb ass gets just annihilated on a Saturday night, and I decide that I'm just going to take all of it and throw it on the Mavs money line, and they lose, right? You're still only down $1 at the end of the day. You could lose everything. You could make the dumbest mistake, go on the worst run of your life, and be down a single dollar, even if you were to lose everything. Pretty simplistic, don't you think?
Oh, it's a fantastic, and it's simply a no-brainer, and you just don't want to miss it, because if we were going to be doing this show maybe in the middle of the week, this offer could be just gone. So you can't miss out on these type of offers, especially like you said, if you want to, it's just $1. You can't really go wrong with it.
No, somebody asked me the other day, like, how long is it here for? And the honest answer is I have no idea, because we find, this because you've been on this end, like the books will just sometimes email us in the morning and be like, okay, we're getting rid of this tomorrow. And by that point, plus why wait? But it's $1. Colorado, Virginia, Ohio, New Jersey. I know it's not all of you guys out there. I get that. But for those of you in one of those 4 states, it's the best promo I've ever seen from a sports book. It's as simple as I can put it. Best promo I've ever seen from a sports book. We had a ton of people in chat yesterday like, man, I didn't know if this was legit. Like us at Stokastic are giving out stuff. Come on now. But they weren't insulting us. They were saying like, it seemed too good to be, the whole thing. If it seems too good to be true, it probably is. They're like, I didn't know if it was legit, but it was $1. So I did it anyway. And now my account says 365 or whatever, 375, whatever it is. So yeah, check it out, man. Links in the description and in the chat. Don't know how long it's going to be here, but why wait? $365 for a single dollar. All right. Washington and Toronto. How about this? No Beal and Kuzma again. Monty Morris is questionable. Once again, you're looking at a player in Kristaps Porzingis who I really thought that you were going to see his price point shoot through the roof, but it hasn't come up that much. I understand it's not, the most ideal matchup that you're ever going to get. Like it's not, the Spurs or the Rockets, but he's $9,300. And last game, I think it's probably fair for me to preface this, that they played the Spurs. He played 28 minutes. How many minutes would you expect him to play today if this game is close?
Mid 30, low to mid 30s. Like if you're to play this game 100 times, I feel like he falls in that range almost like 80 to 90% of the time for sure.
Do you like him today?
Yeah, I love going to Porzingis. I think, you're missing Beal and Kuzma, and that's kind of where you start with Porzingis. He's going to find a way to soak up that usage. He should be the lead usage guy on this team. He has the potential to be the highest scoring player on this specific slate. I know there's Tatum and Brown also on the slate, but Porzingis has that in his bag to pull that off at 9,400 on FanDuel, 9,300 on DraftKings. He looks like an outstanding option. Yes, we haven't touched on some outstanding value to jam in stars and scrub slate, but as the slate evolves throughout the day, I think we will get some news where it'll be a lot easier to go to Porzingis, and Porzingis looks amazing in the spot. I believe they are half a game out of the play-in game, so I don't know if they're prioritizing to get in there, but Porzingis looks like a great DFS option today. I think he's a great starting point in your lineups if you want to go there, because I think the usage is going to be on the table for him to pay off a 93, 9,400 price tag without Beal and Kuz today.
Looks like Chicago's 35 and 38. They're sitting 10th. Washington's 33 and 41. So yeah, I don't know, 2.5.
2.5, yeah.
But At this rate, like if Porzingis is starting, I don't see why he's not going to play. It would be odd to me for him to go out there and start and play 25 minutes. Like, do you maybe run into a situation where he only plays like low 30s in a close game? Yeah, maybe. I suppose that's possible, but I don't know. They were up by a lot in the fourth. He would have come back in that game in the fourth quarter. So he played. I mean, think of this. He played what, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. He played over 16 minutes in the first half. So my guess, and then he played 11-17 in the third quarter of last game against the Spurs, right? And they were up by 18 points at one point in the fourth. He probably would have come back and played. My guess is he plays like 33 minutes, probably 34 minutes in that game. I think that's enough without Beal and Kuzma.
Yeah, I mean, without Beal and Kuzma, I just expect a lot of usage. The offense to go through Porzingis. I mean, like you said, if he can get even to 30 minutes, I'll be pretty content with the decision to go to Porzingis tonight.
What do you want to do with the rest of Washington? And what if Monty Morris sits? Does that do anything for us here?
Yeah, I think you can take some chances on a guy like Delon Wright, maybe. If Delon Wright were to start at 5,200 on FanDuel, he comes in at a favorable $4,800 price tag. That's the type of value play that we're looking for to jam in maybe an extra expensive player in that lineup. And I think Delon Wright, if Morris is going to sit, I like going to Delon Wright. He finds a way to fill up the stat sheet in multiple ways, rebounds and steals. He's a really good steals player, can rack up steals at a good rate usually throughout his career. It's probably tapered off a little bit in the last couple of years, but Delon Wright, someone you can certainly go to in significant fashion if Monty Morris were to be out. Denny Avdija has been hooping, like absolutely been balling of late. You can certainly take some chances at him. Playing probably the best type of basketball since I've seen him since he got drafted. So take some chances in Avdija, even at 6,600. No, it's an elevated price tag, not the greatest matchup against Toronto. He's appropriately priced, but it's worth taking some chances of the way he's been playing of late. But I'll be really excited to go to Delon Wright if Monty Morris were to start. My guess is he would start. Non-zero chance Jordan Goodwin gets to start at $4,500 on DK. You can certainly play him, take some chances on him if Delon Wright were to start as well. I think he's this type of guy we've seen can rack up some extra usage along the way, but it's worth taking some chances on either Goodwin and Delon Wright if Monty Morris were to sit.
What about Toronto? Another team where we've seen back-to-back games, right? A pair of games now where Scotty Barnes, Gary Harris Jr., and Precious Achiuwa were all out, which is weird because I know Adam and I talked about this at length the other day. Many of you guys were with us hanging out on the strategy show on Friday. And I think probably, what was it, Wednesday too? That if Harris and Barnes are out, do they just go with a big front court, especially against the Porzingis Gafford front court, and say, all right, we'll start Achiuwa alongside Jakob Poeltl? They've played 64 minutes together since Jakob Poeltl came over to Toronto at the deadline. Is that possible? Or, because if Barnes is active, he's starting, obviously. If Barnes is out and Harris and Trent, I think I said Gary Harris, but I meant Gary Trent. If Gary Trent Jr. is active and Barnes is out, Trent's probably going to start. But then I don't know. What if both of them are out and Achiuwa is in? This is just a weird spot because it's one of those games where we're waiting for injury news is going to be really, really waiting for a starting lineup. If some of these guys are out, but not all three of them, it could definitely be impactful.
Yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. We've seen Will Barton start the last couple of games, which has been really frustrating in terms of DFS purposes.
But that's really just because they had nobody else to start.
Yeah, I know it's something that we're gonna have to wait and see. Yeah, and I could certainly see Barton getting the start again if those guys are out again, but tough to go to him in any sort of confidence. Look, I mean, we know Siakam, Van Vliet, and Poeltl. They're priced up. I think priced appropriately, but certainly can have tournament winning upside, especially Siakam against this Washington team. Poeltl at 7,200, it looks really, really good. And if Barnes were to play, he looks like a solid option himself. So it's going to come down to the new situation. I think if they all are in, I think this makes for a very appealing tournament team because I don't think they'll have that much ownership. Even if Barnes were to be out, we've seen Chris Boucher pick up extra minutes in his way, and he finds a way to pay off a price tag. He put up 40 fantasy points last game against Detroit, but he's priced all the way up to 6,100 and 5,300. I don't think I could go to him. And if Barnes were to be out and Gary Trent Jr. were to play, I think it's worth taking some chances on Gary Trent Jr. for sure at 5,200, where you get the 3-point bonus over there. He seems like a solid option against this Washington team. And I think it's a very appealing team for tournaments from like Siakam all the way down to Gary Trent Jr. Even OG Anunoby deserves a recognition at $6,300. It's a great matchup against Washington, where I certainly think multiple guys from Toronto can find a way to pay off a salary, even elevated price tag for Van Vliet. It's a very appealing team. It's really hard to judge on what Nick Nurse is going to do with the different like combinations of guys who are going to be in and out. Because Barnes and Trent Jr. just find a way to play a handful of minutes that matter quite a bit, where, like you said, Achua could certainly crack the rotation and play a lot of minutes, but I believe he's also questionable. So who really knows what Nick Nurse is going to do? And God forbid if Will Barton starts again, I'm going to be so pissed because I should just not play him.
No, it's rough, dude, because even if you look at last game and you go, oh, nice. All right. Barton got me 24 minutes. Hey, that's okay. It's really not, especially given that was a monster blowout. And Barton was the only guy that came back in legit garbage run and played alongside Flynn, Boucher, Koloko, and Dalton Jr. So he was really on pace to play like 20 minutes in that game. And as I think Adam mentioned the other day, he's been bad this year, which is why he wasn't playing in Washington, which is why he was playing scarcely in Toronto. Yeah, let's just, like you said, let's just hope he doesn't start. Let's hope one of these guys is active so we don't have to see another Will Barton start.
Yeah, he's been absolutely awful in terms of all things basketball perspective. Yeah, I just hope he doesn't start. That's all.
All right. Well, we got 4 down. We got 3 to go here. Memphis and Atlanta. Ja Morant and a lot of these guys just lost considerable minutes last game. Absolute rout. That game at no point was even remotely competitive at all. And dude, what an insane game. They dropped 151 in regulation against Houston. Just absolutely shit on them. And Ja, for what it's worth, averaged like 2 fantasy points per minute in his 19 minutes off the bench. He was outstanding. It's just there was zero reason to play him. Zero reason to play a lot of these guys for that matter. Going to them today, though, against Atlanta, not a good defense in Atlanta. We already know that much. What's the total in this game?
I believe around 240-ish, maybe?
243.5.
Holy shit, yeah.
Monster total in this game. Hands down, the highest on the slate. But yeah, like Jaren Jackson played 25, Tyus Jones 23, all of these. Dylan Brooks played 18 minutes. Desmond Bane played 20 minutes. Like, dude, none of these guys played at all, and they still destroyed them. You know why? Do you remember what Luke Kennard did in that game?
Yeah, he went 9 of 11 from 3, just lit it up.
10 of 11.
10 of 11.
And he had 30 points, Rimpack. All 30 of his points came on 10 3-pointers.
Unreal. It's just, he just lit it up. He just did not miss. He just got white hot from outside. And it's going to be a very appealing Memphis team to go to. I think today is the game. I'm just assuming that they start Ja Morant. I think we got a couple good exhibition games in against Houston, and now I think he should be good to go in a spot in Atlanta. So Ja Morant, maybe he made a trip down to Magic City. Who knows? Hopefully he was doing all right there. 9,700, 8,700 over there on DraftKings. He looks outstanding. And I think he's going to start. If he starts, he arguably becomes the best pay-up guard on the slate. Look, when Ja Morant was healthy and playing starters minutes, he was around a 10K player. We're arguably like a 15% discount on him on this slate.
Yeah.
So I really hope he starts. And he's going to be one of my highest owned players on the slate. And it's tough not to love him at $8,700. And I also think it's worth playing,
man, because people were obviously very opposed to it the other day. It was like, what are you going to do in a game like that where nobody played considerable minutes? But like you said, dude, the game before he was suspended, he was $10,300. So yeah. And there's a 243 total game with a 2-point spread.
Yeah, and he's not the only appealing Memphis player. I like going to Desmond Bane, getting above the field on a guy like Desmond Bane, because he can certainly find a way to also shoot 18 shots, 16, 17 shots. He has that within him. Desmond Bane's an awesome offensive option as well. In terms of DFS, for sure. Jaren Jackson Jr., he's gotten so much better not getting in foul trouble this season. And at 8,100, it's worth sprinkling him in. He's going to get some ownership, but he has that upside for sure. And at 8,800 on FanDuel, it's a little bit of a different story. You're really hoping that he can rack up those blocks, but Morant and Bane look outstanding to me. I think they are awesome options in this Atlanta spot. Everyone else on the team, it's like if you get with the field, sure. Dylan Brooks can obviously chuck up the ball and find a way to get there, but less likely with John Morant in the picture. But this game total, like you said, Lobby, 243.5. There's a lot of DFS goodness that's going to happen in this game for us to take some chances on.
No doubt. And DeAndre Hunter questionable on the other side, but still, I think, and not to say that that's a massive deal here, but you could get the Trae Young in this game once. And I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. I'm just to back up a second. When you have a game like this with an insane environment that, you could see like a 130 to 128 final score in regulation, you're just looking at this and going, well, nobody's pulling insane ownership on it for a 7-game slate on Atlanta. Trae Young, 21%, sensible to me. This guy can go nuclear. What do you do with like a DeJounte Murray at 12% or a Clint Capella or a John Collins? Do you have tournament interest in some of these non-Trae Young guys?
Yeah, I certainly have to, just solely because of this total, 243.5.
Yeah.
If Trae Young doesn't forcibly throw balls at the referee and he stays on the court, he got ejected last game. So they're on a back end of the back-to-back. I like taking some chances on all of these guys. Even if Clint Capella at 5,700, I think that's a great game environment for him to find a way to get a double-double. Like, it wouldn't shock me if Capella ends the game with like 15 and 15. And like, because of this 243.5 total, I think it's definitely worth taking some chances on DeJounte Murray at 8,200. I know the usage is not as high when Trae Young is on the court, but I'm just counting on this game environment, this total. And I'm going to be willing to take some chances on even a guy like John Collins. I know it's 5,400. Those minutes have slowly gone from mid 20s to high 20s of late. And if DeAndre Hunter is going to be out, Bogdanovich certainly looks to be appealing at 5,600. I'm just going to be willing to take some chances just because of this game total. It's you can't really make up that game total in other spots. So this team from top to bottom, even taking some chances on the bench at Sadiq Bey at 4,500, that's a sneaky option. He becomes a better play if DeAndre Hunter is out. But I'm just counting on this game total of 243.5. Hopefully multiple guys from this game find a way to pay off.
Appreciate you guys getting us north of 100 likes here today, too. I know it's a Sunday morning. People are tired, but much appreciated. North of 100. We only asked once, too. I mean, that makes me feel pretty good. 2 games to go. One other thing to point out. Baseball season is upon us in, 4 days? 4 days, right?
4 days, Thursday.
Yeah, is it? I swear, why do I feel like it was usually Sunday where you'd have the one night game, right? Like 1 or 2 night games to kick it off, and then true opening day on Monday afternoon through the night. Why do I feel like that's usually how it is?
It usually this is the first year they're doing all 15 games, 15 games on like a one singular day on Thursday. Officially opening day. They want all teams to be playing on this day. Yeah, it's a new thing they're starting up.
I'll be honest. I like it better. It's when it comes to baseball, it's not like football where you kick the season off with Thursday night football and everything. One single baseball game on a Sunday night, all right, whatever, take it or leave it. You know what I mean? It's not the same in my opinion. It's a 162 game season. So I'm all about it. But link is down in the description and in chat for 50% off everything. Stokastic plus Platinum. Normally, we would do something like this for new users. This is new or existing. Even if you already are a sub, right? And you've been paying full price for months or years, 50% off the entire month, everything. You're talking, and if you're looking at when is a good time to take advantage of this, and this is only running through, I think, April 2nd, you're talking about, we have basketball right now. We have, and If you're not using tools for basketball right now, this part of the season, you're in some trouble. Baseball, still college basketball going on, XFL, NASCAR, PGA, MMA. There's more that I can't even think about right now. There's like 10 sports. If there's contests out there on these sites, on your favorite sites, we have the content, we have the tools for it. Ownership projections, the boom bust tool, the top stacks and top pitcher tool, preeminent tools, the best tools for MLB that you're going to find, the boom bust tools, player projections, all the projected stats and data, the lineup generator, the lineup builder, everything. All these sports, we got you covered across the board. And even if you aren't well-versed in some of these sports, like say NASCAR, but it's a Sunday and you're looking to get in on that. Yeah. Maybe you go, well, why don't I just use the tools? Get the 50% off the entire month, straight off the top, 50% off the first month, new or existing users. Link is in the description or in chat. You can use the promo MLB is back, all one word, but it's a lot easier to click that link and have it direct you straight there. So if you've been on the fence waiting for a good time to get in on a good deal, whether you're new or existing, this is easily the best time, not only to get 50% off, but to get every sport out there that's happening right now. And I'm not sure I have enough fingers to count them. So check it out. Link down there in the description and in chat. You got any questions? My DMs on Twitter are open. I'm happy to answer them for you. All right, let's keep this one rolling then, Rimpack. We got 5 down. Talking about the OKC Thunder against Portland. The Thunder 9-point road favorites today. Tells you all you need to know about this team. Of course, when we get to Portland, it's going to be slightly more interesting from a exposure and ownership standpoint. But let's get through the Thunder first. SGA, Giddey, Jalen Williams with an E. How do you prioritize these guys against the skeleton crew Portland squad?
Yeah, they're playing like a JV team on the other side of things. And SGA sub 10K on DraftKings, 9,900. Looks outstanding. It's not going to take much to get above the field. I think the ownership will tick up as the day goes on. I think he looks like a great option to go to. Josh Giddey at 8K. Yeah, he has been impressive of late. A little hesitant at that type of price tag, especially when SGA is playing. Jalen Williams, the forward, has been hooping. He's been really impressive as a rookie. And at 6,600, you can certainly take some chances. I'm willing to take some chances on SGA, Jalen Williams, and Giddey in that order. And the rest of the OKC team, I'm kind of shying away. Even Lou Dort, I know he's 5,600. I think there's just better options on that slate. We touched on an appealing, super exciting Memphis and Atlanta game.
Yep.
It's just SGA, Jalen Williams, and Giddey, sprinkling them in, getting above the field on SGA. That's kind of how I'm going to roll. Because the rest of the team, like Pokashevsky's back in the picture. He didn't play last game. I think all inclinations look like he's going to play this game. That's going to mess up the Jalen Williams' center rotation. Olivier Sarr was playing. Like, it's mixing and matching everyone else, and it's really I'm not that. It's like a large enough slate where I really don't need to get too cute. Just focus on their studs, sprinkle those guys in, and try to move on. So they're playing a very awful Portland team. So those studs should find a way to get there, hopefully, especially SGA. I think he should absolutely eat in this matchup.
There's no reason he shouldn't at all. There's no chance that the Thunder have been a 9-point road favorite. I don't think they probably haven't been a 5-point road favorite this season, in all seriousness. So
9-point favorite Thunder team, they haven't probably been 9-point favorites since Russell Westbrook or Paul George were on the team.
They may not have been a 9-point favorite at home this year, Impact.
Oh yeah. Maybe against the Spurs, maybe. But
yeah, maybe.
That's about it. I have to look back at that, but
it illustrates the point of like, hey, not a good Portland team, but at the same time, not sure how much it matters. Sharp played 38 minutes last game. They were smoked, right? They're down like 30 in this one, and he still closed the game out. Watford played 18 minutes in the first half. He played 10 minutes in the third quarter, so he played 28 minutes through the first 3, just never came back. Thibul's rotation was kind of weird. Eubanks played 25 minutes through the first 3 quarters. If this game does stay close, and look, I'm not going to put it past OKC to let a bad team stay competitive at home. The ownership on Portland right now is absolutely insane. Look at some of this, right? Keon Johnson, 73%, but we have him at 76% optimal. Do you know how insane that is to have a guy 73% owned, but we have his optimal score? He has a positive leverage score at 73% ownership. Even Eubanks has only -10 leverage at 52% ownership. This stuff you do not see very often at all.
No, you definitely don't. Just, I know with that ownership, keep in mind we might get a different starting lineup. Maybe they're just trying to get experiment things. They have obviously mailed it in. Shaden Sharp, their lottery pick, he's athletic as it gets. He can definitely show out at $5,900 price tag. We've seen Watford have high ceiling games, but I'm not going to lie. Everyone else, I'm skeptical a little bit just because I think they might mix and match. And I know we're getting positive leverage on Keon Johnson, but yeah, it's tough to go to a guy with that type of ownership at any time when you're playing tournaments, but he just looks like a solid option. And when you're getting positive leverage at that type of ownership, you got to take some chances on him in significant fashion. And I don't know how much more you want to get above the field on a guy like him, but it seems like the data indicates that you should be. But they still have bodies. They're not shorthanded by any means. They're just missing high usage guys and Nurkic, Lillard, Anthony Simons, and Jeremy Grant. It's just that there's going to be a bunch of usage and minutes opening up, but they still have bodies. It wouldn't shock me if like Nasir Little has the game at like virtually no ownership if he gets like hot. Cam Reddish can get hot off the bench. So I think it's worth mixing and matching other guys outside of Sharp and Watford. I know Eubanks is getting a ton of ownership right now, but I think you might be able to like gain some gain a step or two on the field, taking some chances on their bench players just because there's a good chance they might be experimenting different rotations and combinations, but I obviously feel a lot more confident in going to the starters for as long as this game stays close. But just keep in mind, I think the rotations are going to be really volatile with this Portland team until we get some more clarity and who's going to be playing more minutes, at least for a couple games, in my opinion.
But we do know one thing. This team is going to be wildly appealing one way or another.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I think it's like tough not to love this team just because of all those big guys who are missing. There's just going to be so much usage to be spread around. And yet, who are the guys who are underpriced? I could argue Shaden Sharp and Watford are underpriced for their new roles. They're maybe $1,000 too cheap because if they're going to play around 30 plus minutes, they should be around maybe 6.5 for Sharp, maybe a 7K for Watford type of players. So, and other players are definitely cheap as well because so much usage and minutes are available on the table. And it's going to be really, Portland's going to be key to the slate, which players fail and at high ownership and which player low ownership finds a way to succeed. And I feel like that's like the key to winning this slate today.
Let's put a bow on this one. And I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on Minnesota right now. There's optimism that Edwards plays today. Right now we have him and Towns projected in. Nobody getting more than 4% ownership on this team now that it's possible that they're fully healthy today.
Yeah, I think if they're fully healthy, I like going to Karl Anthony Towns at 8K and 8.3. We'll see what Chris Finch says with his minutes, but that's cheap. If he finds a way to play 30 minutes in this Golden State spot, signing me up for a lot of cat. And I think he might be a little bit low owned. And if we don't get any news, I think I'm still going to be taking some chances on Karl Anthony Towns. Anthony Edwards coming back from a lower lower leg ankle injury. I do think there will be some sort of minutes monitoring or minutes limit. I'm a little hesitant, but if there is none, we can ride with Anthony Edwards. I like going to those two guys. Gobert's a little bit out of the picture for me now with Karl Towns back in the play. I just don't think there'll be enough usage for him to get there. But Gobert can certainly have a way from racking up putback dunks and rebounds. Those three. Kyle Anderson's pretty much dust now with the insertion of Towns. Mike Conley just won't have enough usage if all these guys play. McDaniel's just a defensive guy now, but I like going to Cat if he's going to play. And I hope there's no minutes limit and Chris Finch doesn't say anything about it because I think those minutes can go from mid-20s to 30 minutes today.
Yeah, that would be crazy at that price point too. At that price point, you'd be looking at, significant upside. All right, wrap us up, Rimpak, and appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Again, before we go and hit this Golden State team, Colorado, Utah, New Jersey, Ohio, any of those 4 states, bet $1, get 365 in bonus bets. Oh, I meant to say, if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER, and you must be 21 years or older to gamble. Wouldn't want to get in trouble there. That link's down below. And The MLB is back promo link down there too, 50% off everything. Stokastic plus platinum entire month, new or existing users. So yeah, we'll get in on that one. All right, Golden State, no Andrew Wiggins. We knew that already. So we're looking now at like sub 6K or sub 7K Klay Thompson. Draymond's getting a little bit of love here. Curry's always interesting at this price point, 9,600, 14%, not getting a crazy amount of love. So you're going to see guys like Curry, Trae Young, at the point guard position, all similarly priced there. SGA being another one who's more expensive than both of them as a 9-point road favorite. How do we approach Golden State today, particularly Stephen Curry?
Yeah, Stephen Curry obviously has amazing tournament upside, 9,600. I'm willing to get above the field on a guy like Steph. And sub 7K Klay Thompson, we know he can certainly light it up where you get the 3-point bonus on DraftKings. 7,200 on FanDuel. He's all right over there. I like the DraftKings scoring and price tag for him. Draymond Green is only $6,000. And I think I like getting well above the field on a guy like Draymond at that price tag. Just a couple of days ago in the matchup against Dallas, he just looked like 2015, 2016 Draymond Green type of stat line. We saw Jordan Poole just light up the Sixers on Friday night. I'm hesitant to go there. He has struggled so much getting that type of usage, sharing the court when Curry and Thompson are healthy. But he has tournament upside. I like going to Green. I like going to Curry and then Klay in that order. Everyone else, a little skeptical. We've seen Kuminga have some big games. We've seen DiVincenzo have some big games. But they're worth sprinkling them in. Even Looney, you want to sprinkle them in, sure. They're not that exciting. No real priorities there. I like getting to Curry. I like getting to Draymond and Klay in that order. Everyone else, just you can sprinkle them in unless there's some news breaks. But that's really about it for the Warriors.
Well, we got live before lock tonight. EMAC, Eric Lindquist coming up at 5 p.m. 7-game slate. Like I said, 5 games are at 6 p.m. One is at 7 and one is at 8:30. So we should have almost all the news we need. Appreciate you guys hanging with us as always. Have a great rest of the weekend. Follow Rimpack at Rimpack, RYNPAK on Twitter. Me at Lafayette_D. Hop in the chalkboard. It is free to join and everything in it is free forever. Link is down there. It's a sweet app. You can sync your sports books. You got all the box scores in there. Rimpack, anything before we go?
No, I hope you have a fantastic birthday brunch.
Thanks,
and
man.
Enjoy your birthday.
Thanks, brother. Shout out to Mike.
Show.
Shout out to Mike for producing this one. And we'll see you guys back here tomorrow on the NBA Strategy Show. Peace.